We have the May financials in front of you. We finished May. Our revenue was at $70,048,669, which is about $3 million above our original budget. Then our expenditures ended at $60,698,27. That's 90.5% of our budget, with about 91.6% of the year passing. So our expenditures are running real well compared to where we had those budgeted. General fund cash, we're at $48,965,535, and you can see the other items. Our 21 splice cash is at $58,587,87. And on the 21 spliced, a majority of our purchases for the month were for the new sheriff's vehicles. We had $533,868 in purchases of the Durangos and the Chargers. We also had a vehicle purchase for the Correctional Institute, the Fire Department, and 911. In Public Works, we spent about $88,000 in road equipment and repair, not equipment, but road supplies and repair materials. And then in rec, we spent about $10,000 on the new multi-purpose field that's on its way to being completed. In the 15 spliced, we didn't spend any money out of 15 spliced, but we did spend $213,760 out of LMIG for road resurface, and all of that was spent with C.W. Matthews. So that's a summary of our finances.
So we're a little over $3 million ahead of budget on revenues, and we're at $6.3 million under-realized on expenditures from our budget. So those are good, both
right.
Summary numbers. Those are really good.
Well, there's no further questions or comments. We'll move into the business session of 8.1, the Sheriff's Office Body Scanner Purchase. And I'm going to call Chief Deputy Brad Robinson forward.
Madam Chairman, Board of Commissioners, I appreciate the opportunity to come up. What we're asking to purchase here is a Tech 84 body scanner. The reason for this, and we've talked about it for a number of years, but the purchase of this type of scanner is becoming more important as the days go on. As an inmate is coming in, they walk into the body scanner, and within seconds, their body is scanned. As you guys know, nowadays it's not that the handcuff key or the pistol in the sock is found as much as the inmate has ingested or swallowed something that will be deadly in a couple of days. So this body scanner is going to detect those items. A lot of times we do a strip search on inmates, but if they have tucked items up into areas that we can't see, whether they've swallowed them or whatnot, we don't discover those. I mentioned the handcuff key or the weapon. In the past several years, there has been some handguns that's come into that booking area. This certainly will detect that, and that's extremely important. But with the stress that these jail officers go through every day, I think this is a great tool to be able to hopefully make them a little more comfortable that when these inmates are placed in population, they know that they haven't ingested something that they're going to check out at any day now. So we've had those situations happen within the past 8 months at least 2 times. I think the paperwork might have been given to you guys. We did call 4 different companies that provided body scanners. The one we're looking at is Tech 84. It's at $140,000. The other one, closest price was $148, but the Tech 84 is a mobile unit. If we need to bring it somewhere, I take it to the courthouse, for some trial or something going on and we need to use that, it is mobile. I hope we don't have to do that, but I did go to a jail management conference back in April and actually demoed this particular unit. And when talking to other managers of jails in the state of Georgia, they couldn't believe a county our size didn't already have one. And I think Fulton County's got about 4. Polk County, just up the road in Cedartown, they've got one. But they all were really bragging on the success that they've had with this Tech 84.
Any questions for Brad?
I know you all do the research on everything that you bring forward, but I appreciate when I was reading through the documents you had in there, that you've called other agencies. You talked about how this particular unit will fit, I guess, in your breezeway or hallway better than other units were. So I appreciate the detail that you went through, just kind of backing up why this was the unit you were wanting to purchase.
Like I said, we've talked about this probably at least 2 years because I know it's not a cheap piece of equipment. But nowadays with fentanyl, people swallowing drugs on their traffic stop before they come into the facility, I think it's becoming critical that we see if they have ingested something because most of the time they're not going to tell the jail officer. The next thing we're going to do is hopefully hit them with the Narcan and save their life.
Are y'all good with putting this on a consent agenda?
Yes.
Okay, so we don't need Brad to come back.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Brad. Next on our list is 8.2 Sheriff Office Vehicle Purchase. We have Captain Ken Reeves.
Good evening, Commissioners. We're asking the board to approve us to get 10 vehicles. They're not going to be making the 2024 vehicles, the Dodge Charger. They have extended the ordering some this year, so that's why we're asking this early to get this approved.
Any questions for Ken?
So this would be for the Charger?
Pardon?
This would be for the Charger vehicle?
That's right. It'll be a 2023 Charger.
Yeah.
It's the last one.
The last ones, yes.
Last call.
The prices look good. They were kind of in line of
The
what you've
state
done.
contract.
Yeah, it's really good considering how everything is inflated, so.
Thank you.
Are y'all good with putting us on a consent agenda?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't need Ken to come back.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. All right, 8.3 Codes Enforcement Vehicle Purchase. We have Ben Skipper, Director of Community Development, with us.
Madam Chairman, District Commissioners, we have an 06 and an 07 F-150. They've been great ones, but they're getting a little long in the tooth. So we'd like to get 2 new ones if we can, so we'll just keep it simple. Any questions?
Wasn't this in our FY23 additional funds list?
Yes, the body scanner and this was in the end of the,
Yeah.
So you just want approval of kind of what we've consistently done on some of the other truck vehicles, where that dollar amount threshold, looking at the numbers, it looked like it was coming in a little over 40, which was in line what we've done with other department trucks.
That's correct, and one's a Chevrolet and one's a GMC, and I think there's $200 difference between the 2 of them, so. And getting with the county attorney, this being the new money that will be July 23-24, that was where she felt it'd be best that I could bring it before the board and get approval to buy these 2 trucks.
Y'all don't haul any material or anything, do you, Ben?
Material?
Yeah, could y'all use Priuses?
No. Priuses won't work. 2-wheel drives generally have a lot of trouble entering job sites.
are we good with putting this on a consent agenda?
Yes.
We don't need Ben to come back?
No.
All right.
It would be funny, though.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you very much.
Prius.
We have 8.5, contour engineering agreement for the fire station, our replacement station, Fire Station 9. Well, not the replacement station, the actual Fire Station 9. And then we have Danny Yates, for Director of Public Works, with us for that one.
Thank you, Chairman, Board. We have here tonight the two estimate agreements with Contour Engineering for their services for the soil sampling, concrete testing, steel testing, and welding at the new administration building and the Fire Station number 9 in Villa Rica. We're here to ask you tonight to approve these agreements.
They're not fixed price agreements, right?
These are not. It says total estimated. So, I mean, I guess it will depend on how many visits they have to make for certain things.
There's no further questions. Are y'all good with putting this on a consent agenda? Great, Danny. We'll go ahead and have you go to the next one, which is 8.6, the change order proposal for the admin. I don't think we have this. So this one we really need to wait till July 11th.
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
So I was thinking there's not.
Yes.
So that one you do have to come back for.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Thank you. 8.7 is Safe Streets for All. So you still are up there with the Stacy Blackman's not here, but Avery can answer these. A consideration to authorize a grant with the U.S. Department of Transportation. This one kind of started last year, too.
Yes, thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. We have before you for your consideration a proposal to authorize acceptance of some grant funds to be used to develop a comprehensive safety plan. And the chairman, as the chairman just indicated, the board did approve last year $15,000 to apply for this grant with the Highway Administration. It's a Safe Street and Roads grant. It was a bipartisan infrastructure bill that was put into place, and the county did apply for that and now is seeking approval of the next step, which is a $400,000 grant. There is a $100,000 local match with that grant to develop a comprehensive safety plan. And this is the next step in the grant proposal project. Amy Goolsby has been heading this project up and has done a great job of getting some information together for it. But there were 37 projects approved this year for this grant funding, and the awards were $4.4 million to $30 million is what were awarded for those 37 projects. The city of Atlanta was the only jurisdiction in Georgia. They got $30 million for a project. So that is what we have for you for your consideration. If you have any questions, we have Amy here and we have Danny here as well that Mike can answer some of those for you.
Are y'all good with going after, well, that we received the $400,000 to put together the plan, but we needed the other $100,000, so it's $500,000 to put together the plan, that once it is done, we take that plan and go after all this grant money that's out there. So I'm asking, I guess we're asking, is this good to put on a consent agenda for July 11th to put $100,000 with it to accept the $400,000 grant?
Seems like a good return.
Anytime we can get federal money.
Okay, so that is a yes for consent. Okay, great. And thank you, Amy, for being here too. She's worked diligently on many Zoom calls and a lot of paperwork. So thank you. Next is 8.8, the ARPA resolution. I'll call the finance director up to present that.
Last year, we agreed to accept ARPA funding in the amount of $11,653,519.50. Subsequently, we received our second tranche of that money, so we have received an additional $11,653,519 $1,038.50. This resolution is a proposal of how we would like to allocate those funds. Part of these funds have already been allocated through votes previously. The public safety health response, part of that was the Motorola radios that we purchased, and then we purchased some additional equipment at E911 that when those were approved, if ARPA funds were available, we agreed to use those. We also agreed to use $131,000 of ARPA funds for the sewer infrastructure that we gave to the city of Temple. So that's on part of this. Then we have another $750,000 for courthouse screening and security in this tranche, and mental health for $2,389,302.38. And then we would also like to allocate the $6 million to get the total of $10 million that's allowable under the final ruling for public sector revenue loss for governmental services. So that $6 million would come back into our general fund if y'all agree to allocate the funding in that way. So we've got a resolution regarding the second tranche of the American Rescue Plan Act funds, whereas the Board of Commissioners of Carroll County, Georgia desires to accept and allocate the second tranche of grant funds in the amount of $11,653,519.50 available under the American Rescue Plan Act State and Local Recovery Fund with no match requirement from the U.S. Treasury to be used for authorized expenses under the Act in order to provide continued relief from the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. And now, therefore, the Board of Commissioners of Carroll County, Georgia hereby accepts and allocates said funds and directs and authorizes the chairman or her designee to take all action required for the compliance and reporting guidelines. The chairman or her designee is authorized to take all necessary actions to implement these resolutions, including implementation of the initial plan for expenditures set forth on Exhibit A, which is what I've just read out to you, attached hereto, and execution of the agreements with the understanding that any amendment to the attached plan will be brought back before this board for approval and to reflect an appropriate revenue source and expense in the budget, all as may be required under the terms and conditions for receipts of the said grant funds. The Board of Commissioners of Carroll County, Georgia will be informed as to the allocation expenditures and reimbursements. So resolved this day of 2013.
Are there any questions for Alicia?
No, I want to thank Ms. Cersei and Chairman. I'm sure you've been on the calls too, but I know there's been, since all this ever started, there were a lot of calls. I know Ms. Blackman was on them, and y'all were watching different podcasts and stuff was changing over time. So I know that was a lot that has gone on ever since COVID. So thank y'all for continuing to stay on top of this and keeping up with any clarification or adjustments and understanding how we can legally take this in and use it. It's been a blessing to our county.
It has been, and we don't want to subject ourselves to a clawback, so we would like to get this allocated.
Are y'all good with putting this on a consent agenda?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. Danny, I do need to call you back up. 8.4 was the contour engineering agreement for the county administrative building. 8.5 was the contour engineering agreement for Fire Station 9. So we actually have two. It's the one that has to wait till July 11th is the change order. So my mistake in missing that. So if we could go back to 8.4, which is the agreement with contour engineering again.
Yes. One, I think one of them was for the administration building, one of them was for the fire station. Yep. And it's basically the same thing. It's an estimated cost for their services to do all testing and sampling at the site.
It is a fixed cost,
No.
it's just hourly.
It's just an estimate, yes, sir.
So are y'all good with putting that on a consent agenda? Okay, good, thank you. Sorry I missed that. They were both the same right together, so, okay, great. So now we'll skip down to 8.9, which is the Villa Rica Fire Station, and I believe we don't have the documentation yet, so we're hoping to have that for July 11th.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay, so before we adjourn, I just want to make sure we have everything correct. 8.1, which is the scanners for the sheriff's office, is a consent. 8.2 is the sheriff's office vehicles, is consent. 8.3 is 2 vehicles for community development on consent. 8.4 is contour engineering on the College Street admin building on consent. 8.5 is contour engineering on the fire station number 9, a consent. 8.6 is the change order proposal. That will not be consent. That will be discussed at the July 11th meeting. 8.7 is the Safe Streets grant, and that is on consent. And then 8.8 is the ARPA grant resolution as presented on consent. And then 8.9, which is the fire station update, July 11th. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items on consent, and 2 will carry over to be presented that night for your consideration. Did I miss anything? Okay, at this time, then I will adjourn the work session. Thank you very much.